I am African, I'm a mother, and I'm raising a new breed of leaders for the African future.
A jolly, jolly, jolly good day to you, wherever it is you're joining us from. You're welcome to the A.R.A.L show, where A.R.A.L means Afrimums,
Raising African leaders.
My name is Zoe Octavia Obaze, and I'm never alone on the A.R.A.L show because there is the strong and sturdy.
Okay, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're watching from and whatever time it is, wherever you are. My name is Chisom Kachuku, but of course on the A.R.A.L show, you can call me Somi. Welcome to another exciting episode of the A.R.A.L show on your refreshing radio, Digits 1024 radio.
Today our conversation is rather interesting. They say you are what you eat. And since in the A.R.A.L show, our focus is raising a new breed of African leaders, our question is, what should our children today be eating? Or what nutrients should we expose them to, preparing them for the future? And so we have a guest
in the house today to talk to us about dieting. So let's start with the very first question, because, diet is like one of those words we throw around and everybody, I'm dieting. So what really is diet, and when can you say a diet is healthy?
Okay, thank you very much for having me here today. Diet. So diet simply mean what we eat, the foods we eat, and the drinks we take in on a regular basis. That's on a day-to-day basis.
Okay.
That's basically what a diet is.
Okay.
Now, a diet can be healthy or unhealthy, depending on what it is we're consuming.
Okay.
So what makes up a healthy diet would be a balanced diet. I'm sure we've all heard this.
Yes,
all of us,
from school.
From school, yes, from our childhood, we've heard of what a balanced diet is. Now, a balanced diet basically contains all the nutrients required in the human body for it to function optimally.
Okay.
Whether you're an adult or a child. It's more critical when we're talking of children, because these are their early years.
Yes.
You lay a good foundation, their early development years.
Yes.
You want to make sure they're consuming the right things.
Yeah.
It's going to increase their overall well-being. Back then, when we described health as just the absence of disease in the human body.
Yes.
Today, health is no more described that way. Health is the overall well-being, that is physically, emotionally, mentally, the overall well-being of a human being. In order to achieve this, you want to consider early childhood development, which comes with nutrition and diet.
Wow.
So a balanced diet involves intake of the right amount of macronutrients and micronutrients. What are macronutrients? So macronutrients basically are...
We have come to
school. We have come to school. No, we have to take it. We are ready for it.
Macronutrients are basically the nutrients required in the body in large amounts.
Okay. Yeah.
For children, it's okay to take quite an amount of macronutrients. Guess what? As we get older, the tables turn around. So I'll explain. Macronutrients, like we all know, are carbohydrates, proteins, regular fats and oils.
Okay.
Good. Micronutrients, on the other hand, are nutrients that we take in the body in smaller quantities, like our vitamins and minerals.
Okay. I've not gotten it. I need to let it sink. Thank you so much. There's something that I have just heard that strikes me, and that is, before now, we defined health as absence of disease. But now it is the overall well-being. So because our focus is on children, it means the overall well-being of our children physically, mentally, emotionally, and in every wise. Wow. Okay, so, and we're saying that there is a role that diet has to play in the emotional health of my children.
Of course.
Wow. In the mental health of my children. So it goes without saying that it's very important that I pay attention to that if I'm going to raise my children to be the future leaders that we want them to be. Okay, so we have another question here. What diet specifically suits growing children? In fact, I think that we want to make it more bespoke. What diet specifically suits growing African children. You know how, we jokingly say that what we eat in Africa, it's not exactly what is obtainable in the West. And somehow it affects the growth. It's not the same. So is there a specific diet that is suitable for growing African children? Now we're talking about all 54 countries in Africa.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay, so anywhere in the world, one thing we want to key into in dieting is the fact that you want to eat things that are traditionally grown, that is homegrown.
Okay.
That's the best diet. So we in Africa here, we mean basically what we grow around here. So let's start with fruits. We want to be eating things like bananas, tropical fruits, and I mean tropical fruits are like the most delicious fruits we have around. They're the sweetest. We want to eat things like mangoes. We want to eat things like pawpaws, like pineapples, like watermelons. And those contain vitamins, and they contain adequate adequate vitamins and minerals, as well as electrolytes that the body needs.
Okay.
This helps with brain development. They help with cognitive abilities. Yes, they help with so many things. They also help, there's this thing we say, when you're eating, nutrition is the act of not just eating, but the body's ability to absorb the food you eat and to sustain yourself in the environment that you find yourself.
Yeah.
That's actually how it works. So the more things that are homegrown that we consume, the better for us.
Wow. Show me. I mean, that's a lot.
Okay,
The
so
more things. Wait, what was your mind going back to?
yes, because first of all, when she mentioned bananas, I was like, okay, so but they say banana is fattening. Like you see a lot of people when they say they are on weight loss, they will tell you, oh, banana is fattening, is this, is that, is this. So as in sometimes you wonder, because even me when I hear it, I say, boy, it's natural. Like, do you understand? So I guess that should bring to the conversation in like what is moderation in diets, because I believe that should play a role. And does that apply for children too?
Okay, so for children, you can almost say little or no. At their stage, their bodies can actually digest and consume almost anything, as long as it's natural and it's healthy. Yes, but the older we grow, it's a bit different. Our bodies can digest less macronutrients. Our bodies need more of our micronutrients. Now, why is this? Our micronutrients are what assist our bodies, I put it as the self-defense system. Yes, they're what help us to build our immune.
Obesity is an issue. Even high blood pressure is becoming an issue in children. In children. So I'm wondering, does that have any correlation with
a healthy diet? Does help to prevent. It can also help to manage certain childhood diseases that are common to us in Africa. Examples are diets that are rich in vitamin A would help us to prevent eye defects. African children do have a lot of that. Also, things such as malnutrition and stunted growth. Yes, our diets can help in that. Anemia. We all hear a lot about anemia in Africa. Yes, an iron-rich diet will help us to prevent or to even better manage it if it exists. Yes. So yes, a healthy diet can help you to prevent. It can also help to manage should there be an existing issue. Yes. Also, it also helps us to manage things such as allergies. Yes. We have a lot of that these days. We have a lot of allergies. You mentioned
that's shocking, because when you say allergy, I just say that one is for white people. Because it's rare. I don't know, maybe because we don't really pay attention, but it's really rare to see an African child that have allergies. Or people like say maybe we've not really been paying attention. So it's surprising to hear that allergies are like, what's that? So
so for allergies, what I can say is most of the common colds you find, colds, sneezing, catarrh, they might actually be allergies, but you don't know that they're allergies. Yes. So you find the child is always having a runny nose, always having itching eyes, and you're saying it's just cold and catarrh. Sometimes it's an allergy. Most times it is.
Oh, wow.
When it's constant and repetitive.
Wow.
Yes.
Okay, so how do you advise that parents now handle allergies? Because what I mean is, how do you now find the trigger for your child's allergy if that's a possible cause for such cases like you mentioned?
Okay, so you need to also watch what they're eating. And you can only do this when you're the one preparing the meals.
Right.
So you can't be eating a lot of packaged fruits and overly processed fruits because you really don't know what's in there. Each time you buy those things, you don't know what's in
What
there.
do you mean by packaged fruits?
Foods.
Okay,
fruits.
foods.
Yes,
Oh,
packaged
okay.
fruits and overly processed fruits. Yes,
Okay.
you really don't know what makes up there. The best you can do is read a food label, and a food label doesn't tell you everything contained.
True.
Yeah.
They're marketing. They won't
Right.
tell you exactly everything contained. It's just like when you cook a pot of soup at home and you have a secret recipe. Do you tell everyone what's in your recipe? You keep something. Yes, you might tell them the main ingredients, but you keep some things to yourself. Yes. Now imagine a company
True.
that is built for profit making.
And in competition with
And in
others.
competition with others, they definitely won't be telling you every
Everything.
single thing. It means they can be copied.
Wow. Wow. So if there's one thing, thank you so very much,
Like,
Mrs.
it's been an
Omolara
exposing.
Igata. It's been, you can say that again. Our conversation here at the A.R.A.L show today is healthy diet for the future African leader. And if there's one thing I'm taking away from this first session so far, is that the more of homegrown meals that we expose our children to, that we ourselves take, the better for us.
everyone.
So we'll be right back. Please do not go away. You are still here at the A.R.A.L show. We'll be right
Okay,
back.
so just before we go on that break, don't forget this is the time to like, share, comment. Of course, as you can see, this is the A.R.A.L show YouTube page. So please ensure to subscribe and turn on the notification button. And if you feel this conversation so far has been interesting and an eye-opening one for you, do leave us a comment in the comment section and we'll be sure to respond. And of course, this show is brought to you by Digits 1024 Radio. So please subscribe to Digits 1024 Radio for more refreshing and entertaining content. We'll be right back. Okay.
You're welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. I am Zoe Octavia Obaze, and here it is the A.R.A.L show, Afrimums, Raising African Mothers. We have a guest. She's a delectable, beautiful healthness and wellness coach, and she's also a mother to 3 healthy children. So far, the conversation has been around healthy diets for future African leaders, and she has said to us that truly we are what we eat, and that we as mothers who prepare food for our children, we have the responsibility to feed them with what did she call that? Vitamin A. I mean, that prevents eye defects. Let's give them diets full of iron to prevent anemia, and of course, traditionally homegrown food is our best bet. Over to you, Somi. What other questions do we have?
Okay, so like I said, it's been like an expose for me. So, and this question I want to ask now, it brings back a lot of funny memories. Okay, so first of all, let me share a little. So one day, a friend of mine called me and she was frantic and everything. She was like, that in their compound, that a child just choked. I was like, what happened? That the mother was trying to, this pattern of bending the baby's neck and trying to, force feed the baby. And the baby choked on it. So that brings me to the next question. So what are some erroneous feeding practices prevalent in Africa that A.R.A.L mothers should avoid? Of course, A.R.A.L mothers are not the regular mothers. We are Afrimums on a mission. So people feel it's for the good of the child.
Yes.
Like I, for one, I've been there because my first son was the type that doesn't like food at all. And you know, it's somehow when you see your child, the child, it feels like you're punishing the child. So sometimes force feeding seems like the
way out.
easiest way out. So what are those other practices, and how can mothers handle such when they arise?
Okay. So definitely force feeding is one. Since you mentioned it, let's start from there. Force feeding a child, just like you obviously said, can choke the child. No one wants to do that. I mean, you're trying to do something for the good of the child, not something for the bad of them. Yes. So at the end of the day, you don't want to force feed. One thing I do notice is we have this tendency to depend on packaged and processed foods. I find a lot of mother requirements the infant needs can be found in the breast milk. Guess what? Even if the mother is eating gari in the morning, in the afternoon, in the night, the baby is not drinking gari from the breast milk. The baby is drinking protein and calcium. Yes.
Okay.
Wow.
The baby is drinking everything he requires as an infant for his optimal growth and well-being. Psychologically, even mentally. Have you noticed that mothers that breastfeed usually have calmer, more organized children sometimes? Less dependent children, highly intelligent children? Yes, breastfeeding can do that. That's one. Two, overdependence on, like we said, processed according to their nutritional requirements.
Word.
So, I mean, every child wants to have chips, every child wants to have popcorn, every child wants to have biscuits and sweets and candy, but is that what they require? So we want to practice more of mindful eating.
Wow.
So when you want to feed your child, you want to look at what you're feeding them. What value is it going to add to the child's growth and well-being as an individual? That's what we want to look at. Not how does the child's taste buds feel, and how does my child love me more after I've given him a sugary treat.
Wow. You know, listening to you, we've been doing a lot of because it hits home, right? It hits home, honestly.
Yeah.
You know how mothers want to, I mean, I can't recall what literature it was that I was reading. You know how we have the tendency to word a child with something edible once they do something.
We don't just mean the absence of disease, but things such as your vitality, your energy levels, and your flexibility are part of your physical health. I'm sure we all agree that children are almost 100% on this. I mean, our children are so flexible.
Leaders for the African future. So listening to us are mothers who are low-income earners, who can barely feed themselves and their children. And truth be told, it's easier to get cheap sweets to get my child to stop crying than to go all the way to where I can get expensive pineapple. Have you sometimes found out how expensive these things can be? So I'm not, it's a question I'm asking. How realistically can low-income mothers give their children healthy food? I mean, I'm not talking about those in farmlands now, because it's understandable. If I were a farmer and there's corn around me and coconuts, it's easy to get these things. But I'm a low-income earner. How do I feed? Exactly. And my child is crying, or I really want a child that is not obese, that is healthy. How do I give my children healthy food within the confines of my low income?
Beautiful question. So, in reality, healthy eating is actually best practiced by low-income earners, even though we don't know that. How can they do this? One, they can do this by planning.
Okay.
There's something we talk about in our sessions, meal planning. So meal planning doesn't only come to your daily cooked meals. It also means buying what you need probably in advance when it's less expensive, for instance. Yes. one thing seasonal eating. Sorry, I don't know if I've mentioned it previously. Okay, I think what I mentioned was mindful and tropical grown. Okay, so there's what we call seasonal eating. That is eating things when they're in season. Do you know that when fruits are in season, they are one, at their cheapest? Two, they are also nutritionally dense. That is, they have the highest amount of nutrients in them at the time when they're in season. So low-income earners can focus on eating those things when they're in season, for instance. If you eat mangoes when they're in season, it's cheaper than trying to eat mangoes when they're not in season. If you eat beans when it's in season, it's definitely cheaper than trying to buy beans when it's not in season. So if you eat maize, for instance, or corn, I think we're around the corn season right now. You find out that the price of corn has come down. So a low-income earner would want to feed her child the most corn she can when it's in season. When it's not in season, forget about corn and move on to what else is in season. I think groundnuts also, peanuts, they're in season, or they're coming back into season. Yes, I've been seeing them around lately. With the same 100 naira or denomination or currency, yes, you can buy a handful of nuts for your child. And that's much healthier. I'm just saying, as an option. So one, they want to probably bulk buy, which will require adequate planning. Yes, so they want to be planned and organized. They also want to eat seasonally, which also gives us the ability to purchase things when they are at their most cheapest.
Okay.
Yes, so those are ways that they can do this.
Okay, so when you said bulk buying, that brings up another challenge on its own because number one, for some of them, they don't even have refrigerators. These low income earners, or even if they have, there's the issue of power. So how do they now bulk buy and preserve them? Like, for example, there was a time tomatoes was so cheap, but right now tomato is like the big boy in town. So imagine you had bought then. How do you now preserve it without a refrigerator, without a steady power supply, or without, with all the challenges that people in such income brackets face?
My family is going to eat corn this week. Now we have this issue where our taste buds have been so overwhelmed that we have the desire and constant need to change what we're eating. So you find people say, oh, why is it rice all the time? It can be rice.
All my children.
You can just have rice in different ways. So for instance, we want to maximize eating corn this season. And it's corn season. So let's have the corn in different ways. We can boil the corn, we can roast the corn, we can grind the corn and make cereal. Did you realize that pap is a form of cereal? Just like it's not packed in a box.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, it is. It is. So please don't say that to your children.
Exactly, because they usually don't want to hear
because
that.
I remember when my children were young, we call pap hot ice cream.
You just said them.
It worked. So we have like names for everything. So we take, it's a mind thing sometimes. So we call pap hot ice cream. Just the same way we call this locally made A.R.A.L, we call it bean puffs.
Oh.
So they're attracted to puff, right? Bean puffs. We can make the same puff but out of beans. We can make puff but out of rice. So there are various ways to eat the same thing.
Right.
Thereby maximizing our nutrient intake from that thing. So we can't be boiling yam every day and not expect them to get bored. But sometimes you can roast the yam, sometimes you can pound the yam, sometimes you can fry the yam. So many ways. But it's still yam we're eating because this is yam season. And when it's no longer yam season, we can't afford to buy yam. So we want to make the most of the nutrients in yam at this time.
Okay, so I don't know if this question has been answered. There's a lot, but you know how we feed our children and we sometimes feel like if I want to go with what Mrs. Omolara is saying, they will not be filled. Remember how she was saying you can get a handful of groundnuts. I'm like, there has to be something heavy. You know how we feel like until their bellies galloping and puffing and all of that, we're not satisfied. And then the same for us. We often feel like our plate has to be filled. Then when we are done eating, we can't stand. Then that's when You know, that's the general African thinking, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
That to eat well is to eat full and to eat heavy, and that requires a lot of funds. You know, that's just how it works in our minds. So you don't have money, you cannot eat healthy, you cannot be strong. What do you think about that calculation?
First of all, to eat full in the way you're, in the sense you're talking, is very, very wrong. You shouldn't eat till you're heavy and immobile. No. You should eat and you should still be able to get about your activities for the day. Do you know that when children are overfed, they tend to sleep in school? Yes. Naturally, your body's natural response after eating is actually to sleep. Have you noticed?
Very true.
So why would you want a child who still has classes to attend to eat that heavily?
Okay, so let me.
I'm sorry. On the nuts that you mentioned, so I meant that as a snack, as a treat.
Yeah.
Yes, I didn't mean that as a meal.
Okay.
Yes. So
Snacks
mangoes,
are-
fruits, those are snacks. So use them to replace all the packaged fruits. That's what I'm trying to say.
Okay, so that brings me what you said about that brings me to having specific food at specific times of the day. You know, some people say, "Oh, cereal is best in the morning." Maybe like and some other person will tell you, if I've not eaten eba in the morning, I'm not okay. You understand? So, and does eating some particular food at a particular time, does it affect the growth of children? Like, the truth is, there are some parents, maybe in the morning what they can afford is eba for their children, and they say, oh, you have to eat it and go. So does that in any way affect the children and their developmental milestones?
Okay, so growth, not particularly, but it might affect their cognitive abilities. It might affect other things about them. So, for instance, there is no particular food that is best eaten at a particular time. No.
Okay.
Especially when we're eating things in moderation. But I can give this guideline. It's best to eat lighter the sooner you're going to bed. So you should decline on the quantity of your meals. This helps your digestive system to be in a state of rest by the time you're going to bed, which is what triggers the body's natural healing and recovery process. So I mean, whatever example, I mean, this is so conversant with children. Children are always having, scars, scratches, all sorts of injuries. Have you noticed that even if you had an injury, give it a day, 2, 3 at most, after a while it heals by itself without any medication, any treatment. Your body has the ability to do this in all ramifications, even when it comes to diseases and ailments. The reason it's not doing it is diet, nutrition.
Okay.
And definitely, by the time a disease is already existing, it will take a longer time. Yes, it can't be the same thing as having a scratch. I mean, even that scratch, if it was a very deep one, you'd notice that it will take more time to heal. Even if unattended to, you don't have to go to the hospital to get it treated sometimes, unless it's infected or something else has gone wrong. If you just rinse it off with water, I mean, the little boy goes to play football, he has an injury, he rinses it off at the tap, 2-3 days, after that the sprain is gone, he's back on the field.
True.
No hospital visit.
Wow. It's been a very insightful, educating and eye-opening session here at the A.R.A.L show on Digits 1024 Radio. We'll be right back.
Welcome back. It's been a very interesting conversation on the A.R.A.L show with Mrs Omolara. She's a health and wellness coach. And of course, I don't know if we've mentioned, she's the founder of Hibiscus Royale. I'm sure you've seen the advert during the break. Play on your screen. So she's not just talking the talk, she's living the talk. And it's been very exciting. It's been very informative. It's been very educating. So, and of course, this is happening live at Digit 1024 Radio, your refreshing radio. If you've not dropped a comment, now is the best time to do so. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell. So over to you, Zoe.
Thank you so much, Somi. I'm tempted to run through. I mean, I have here a should I say a file full of notes to myself. Dear Zoe, do this and do that. But time would not permit me to do that. So I'd like to ask for and raise a child that will be healthy, wealthy, and wise. In 1 minute.
As mothers, we should feed our children with a balanced diet. That's one key. Also, we should limit processed foods entirely. Sugar and salt would be a good way to go. I mean, we have so many wonderful, tasty, exotic, and traditional meals. Let's not deprive our children the opportunity to benefit from these and look for things that we don't have in our immediate environment and are not even accessible to us. Let's raise our children based on our values, our cultures, and still raise them to be the best they can be.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Interesting.
So me.
Okay, so of course, like future, then there ends today, and you've been able to glean a lot that would help you going forward to make sure that our African future leaders right in your home get the nutrients that they need to thrive.
Thank you so very much. My final words will be really long, but before I say that, and I do not have the time to make it long, because we are African mothers, we also need to be conversant with the African continent. And so we have the Africa segment where we talk about just a few tips about, mention certain fun facts, interesting facts about our continent. I want to please apologize. On our last podcast, I did make an error in my announcement on the population in Lagos, Nigeria. The correct number is approximately 16,536,000 persons, approximately, in Lagos, Nigeria. My apologies concerning that. For today, in case you have not known, if you're joining us from any other country in Africa, it's Democracy Day here in Nigeria. We are celebrating democracy, and we are hopeful that this nation, as well as other nations in Africa, would rise up to their full potentials, especially as our children are coming. So a question that we'd like for you to respond to is: the longest uninterrupted democracy in Africa is what nation? What nation has the longest uninterrupted democracy in Africa? That country happens to be under a blend of Roman Dutch law, if I'm not mistaken. All right, so what country has the longest uninterrupted democracy in Africa? Please comment the right answers and we'll find you out and get across to you. My final words: the A.R.A.L show is one mother holding on to another mother, holding on to another mother to say, yes, we can. What can we do? We can raise our children to be well-rounded, to be complete, to be the kind of leaders that the African continent desires. And if we say that we are what we eat, then today's topic, nutrition, healthy diets for future African leaders, is important to all of us. So please, now that we have heard, let us ensure to practice and raise our children to be the kind of leaders that we want to be. Until we come your way again,
Tell the word, Africa is coming. Bye.
Thank you, bye. I did not thank our guest. Did you thank her?
Yes, ma'am.
You thanked her very well. Do not shake your head. How is it?